Hello everyone, here is the presentation on the elements of art. This is being split up into two separate videos. This video is going to cover line, shape, form, and space. The second video will cover color, texture, and value. So let's begin. Elements of art. So these are the 7 elements of art: line, shape, form, space, color, value, and texture. Every single artwork that is out there uses one or more of these elements together in order to create a work of art. So the elements of art are also known as the building blocks of art because you take these different elements as if they were blocks and you arrange them together to create a work of art. For example, take a look at the image in the background. We see a lot of different lines, we see shapes, we see colors, we see values in some areas. We do see some textures. We don't see as many forms at the moment in that particular artwork, but we're going to go through each one so you get a better understanding of what each one means. So first we are going to start with line. Line is a mark that spans a distance between 2 points. So you guys might recognize something like this from math. We see there is a line moving between points A and point B. Line can refer to the type of path of visual representation. So, in other words, this is a straight line. There are also curved lines, zigzag lines, parallel lines, perpendicular lines, spiral lines, thin, thick lines. There are so many different types of lines out there. Those are just to name a few. Line can also refer to the use of various marks, so outlines and implied lines are used to define shapes. So, for example, outlines are what is used to define the space here in the map of the United States. The line is outlining the different states. Implied lines are the path the eye follows in a work of art. So this is pretty much in many different artworks, but specific to here, photography. So here we have 2 photographs. Then photography is art. So in the first image, we have the bride sitting in this circle of hedges. There are these lines created by the hedges that are bringing the viewer's attention to our subject right here. The same thing happens in this image, in the person standing in the middle of the covered bridge. We have these lines created that are bringing our attention to this person right here. So once again, it is the path our eye is taking. This image right here is created of 2 sneakers, and these lines that are here are different types of lines as well. We have very thick lines, we have very thin lines, we have angled lines, we have straight lines, we have curved lines. This image is entirely created by lines. Up here, we have an example of something called a contour line. It's a continuous contour line where the pencil or the pen stays on the paper and is not lifted at all. So this is a contour line drawing of a hand. Now, contour line drawing is something that we will be doing as part of this project. What types of lines do you observe in these images? So you're going to notice that there is a Pear Deck band right here. Now, being that this is on YouTube, you're not going to be able to click on that right now, but in Google Classroom, you will be able to click on that and you will be able to answer the question by drawing 3 different types of lines that you see in this picture. Right? And we have a bunch of different famous artworks in here that use line. Here we have a line that is used to show movement. Here we have a wire sculpture created by a single wire and using line to create these different facial proportions. Same thing here. We have lines that are put together in order to create facial features. So what type of lines do you see? All right. If we take lines and we put them together, we can create shapes. A shape is an area in 2D space that can be defined by edges, setting one space apart from another. Okay, 2D means flat. It has height and it has length. Shape can be geometric, which are things like squares, circles, triangles, hexagons, stars. It can also be organic, which is found in nature and found to be shapes like puddles or blobs, leaves, raindrops, shells, coral. Very free-flowing in form. Shapes are defined by other elements like space, line, texture, value, and color. For example, right in here, up by geometric shapes, we have a square. This square is created through line. We have 4 straight lines, all the same length, put together in order to create this square. A rectangle is also 4 lines put together, 2 lines that are shorter, 2 lines that are longer. A triangle is 3 lines put together in order to create this shape. A circle you can define as one single continuously curved shape. What type of shapes can you observe in these images? Same thing, in Pear Deck, you're going to be asked to draw 3 different shapes that you see. 3 different recognizable shapes. And there's quite a few of them here. Form. Form is 3-dimensional, 3D. It shows height, or how tall something is. It shows length, and then it shows width. Width can also be known as depth, or how deep or how far back something goes into the distance. Examples of these include sculpture. All sculpture is a form because it is 3D. Some simpler forms broken down would be a cube, a pyramid, a sphere, and these are some of those examples right here. So once again, those forms can be created or enhanced by lines, by color, which they are here. These are created through color and value. So here we have a blue cube. Okay. This cube is created to look like a cube due to color and value. This top is a very light blue. We have a medium blue on the right side, and then we have a dark blue on the left side. This is creating the illusion of a form. Here we have a sphere. It's a yellow sphere. But through value change, we have a highlight here, and we see that the color gradually starts to get darker because a sphere is a rounded form. Here we have a pyramid. It's red, and we are using value because we have a light red and a dark red here in order to create this form. Now, form can be physically 3-dimensional, like these 2 sculptures here, okay, as well as the pyramid in real life. However, form can also be created through the use of things like values in order to give the illusion of form. Here, for example, this is an image by M.C. Escher. There is form represented within the image. Okay, the realistic shading of the hand. Okay, the sphere. What forms do you recognize in these images? I ask you to name 2. I kind of named a few for you, so hopefully you're listening. Just to show you a few differences between shape and form. Shape. Here we have a square, a triangle, and a circle. These have height and these have length. They are flat. Form is 3D. It has height, it has width, it has depth. Height, length, width. I apologize. So here's our square. It is flat. The 3D version of that is the cube. Here we have our triangle, a shape, flat. Here we have different forms that can be from a triangle. We have a prism, which looks like a triangle to start with, and then we see the other side of it, which is going back into space. Here we have a cone, which would be a 3D rounded triangle. And then here we have the pyramid. The pyramid, we see 1 triangle there, 2 triangles. There's a triangle there on the back and triangle there. So this is the form of a triangle. And at the very bottom, we have a sphere. Now, you might say, well, that looks just like a circle. The only difference is the shading. That's exactly the difference between a sphere and a circle. A circle is the flat version of this shape, whereas the sphere, we have value added in order to give it the illusion of being a form, especially on a flat surface like this. Now, a sphere in real life would be a ball. Space. The area provided for a particular purpose. It can be referred to in a few different things. Now, that sounds very vague, but space, there has a lot to do with space. Space can have 2 dimensions, length and width. For the example, a floor. It can have 3 dimensions. It has length, height, and width. For example, a room. It can refer to depth of field, or how close or how far away something is from the viewer. Okay, this includes foreground, middle ground, and background. And this is dealing with these 2 images right here. Let's first start with the image of the beach. We have the driftwood here in the foreground, we have the sand in the foreground, and we have the shoreline in the foreground. The foreground is usually lower on the page and is also the items or the space that is closest to the viewer. The middle ground is just that, it's in the middle, and it's between the foreground and the background. For this, we have these rocks that are in the middle ground. The background, we have the sun, the horizon line. We have these little islands in the background. We also have the sky. These are the things that are farthest away from the viewer. Here, we have these 3 cubes that appear to be popping out of this vanishing point right here. We have our horizon line, which is where the sky, which is where the sky and the ground meet. Space can refer to the distance or areas around or between or within components of a piece. So, for example, there is space between this top cube and this bottom cube. There's space between this cube on the right and this cube on the left. There is space between this branch in the foreground and this rock formation in the middle ground. There's space between you and the person sitting next to you, you and the person sitting in front and behind you. There are 2 different types of space. There is positive space and negative space. Positive space is the object itself, whereas negative space is the space around it. These are just a few illustrations of space.